All right, y'all. So I am starting a 90-day mentorship to find your first mobile home park. All right. What all does that include? What does it look like? And why am I doing it? All right. I get so many people reaching out that want a mobile home park. All right. And they'll send me these deals, or they think they're deals, they're listings. So if you do like single family houses, could you imagine somebody sending you stuff on the MLS all day and being like, what do you think? How do I underwrite it? What do I look at? Is this a deal? Right. And the reason people do that is they don't understand the asset class. So, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to break down the asset class. I'm going to tell you what this training is going to look like and how you can end up with your own home, mobile home park, rather, in 90 days. That is my goal. I'm only letting 5 to 8 people in this thing max. All right. I don't want a big group. I want it to be an intimate setting, hands on. That way we get results, right? Y'all get results, then that's awesome for me. All right. So this is how you underwrite a mobile home park. All right. And these are the questions that you ask whenever you're doing so. All right. You find a park. They want to sell it. All right. Preferably not online because that's like if you're chasing stuff on the MLS houses, like how many are you gonna have to reach out to get a deal? You can. It's just a lot of bandwidth, a lot of energy. I like going to people that have a pain point. All right. That's why I like expired listings. So if I were to get my first mobile home park today, knowing what I know now, me transferring that knowledge to you, what would that look like? I would Google expired mobile home parks in, let's say I want one in San Antonio. San Antonio. All right. I would then skip trace all the owners of those parks, make sure they're not on the DNC list, and then I would call them. Do you want to sell your park? No. Okay. Do you have any empty spots? Why you ask? Well, I also find mobile homes because I got to put some in the parks that I own. Maybe, we might get at capacity and I need something to do with this inventory, right? I hit them for both ends, right? But I like to know that because I move mobile homes too. All right. So you can get a conversation going and get a relationship at least. That's what I would do. Because think about it. People that own mobile home parks, they probably have money and they probably lend money, right? Or might be open to it. So you get a relationship with this person. Maybe you find them some inventory. Maybe they don't want to sell you your park. Maybe they lend on your next deal because they understand mobile home parks, right? It's not just like a one-sided thing here. Like you're not, if they don't want to sell, cool. But here's the other thing. It's like cities like San Antonio, parks have to be registered, right? You have to be registered with the city. Call the city and get all the parks that are registered, right? You can do that. And then have them skip trace, run DNC, find the owners, call them, talk to them, get relationships, right? Make offers. All right. That's how you'd find the park. All right. Here's where the sticking point is. People are like, well, what kind of offers would I make? So here's the questions that you ask. All right. How much money are you bringing in per month right now? I don't know. I don't have my books, whatever. Cool. How much do you charge for lot rent? Well, we own some units, we own this. Okay, cool. What do you charge per unit total? And how many units are there? Well, we get about $800 a month. There's probably 20 units. Okay, cool. So now pull out your calculator. All right. I'm not going to try to do this math in my head right now. It is too early in the morning for that. All right. So let's say they have 20 units, all right, times $800 a month, and they're all full. All right, cool. That's 16,000 a month. Multiply that number by 12 because there's 12 months in a year. All right, that's 192,000 gross income. What I want you to do, because most of these park owners do not have books and you don't want to trust their books anyway, run it at a 50% expense ratio. So divide that 192,000 gross rents by two for 50%. All right, you're at $96,000 NOI. A lot of parks, if they're city sewer, city water, will trade around a 10 cap or higher. Cap meaning percentage. All right. So quick math, you can divide that number, the NOI, net operating income, which you just figured out, by 10%, which is a 10 cap. It's $960,000. All right. Your MAO for that park is $960,000. However, here's the caveat. All right. I like to say under 40 units, I just use the 2% rule. And that's contrary to a lot of commercial thinking. But stuff becomes less valuable, like these parks, commercial stuff, when you can't either expand, unless you can expand. But if you can't expand and it is what it is, say they got 20 units, you can't expand, it is what it is. You got to get a hell of a deal to make it worth it, right? To actually cash flow. And I'll tell you why. So let's do this again. All right, 20 units times 800. That's 16,000 a month. Divide that by 2%. That's 800,000. On a 10 cap, you'd be at whatever, 900 plus. I think I would want this at 800,000 because like you're going to cash flow much better. Like if you pull up an amortization schedule, you're probably getting 10% money on this part to acquire it if you got them to seller finance it or you went to like a private money, right? Well, if you got 10% money and you underwrote it at 10% cap rate, then you're losing money. Does that make sense? 10% versus 10%. And then you're probably going to lose money because there's other stuff that pops up, right? That makes sense. So I would say to get this at 2% rule. That way you can't expand it, you can't make more money, right? Unless you increase operation efficiencies, expenses, stuff like that. But I say over 40 units, you have a lot more leeway to like increase rents across the board, reduce expenses, make things happen. You still need to buy right. You can do a 10 cap, above 40 units. I think that's fine. All right. So now you pulled the list, right? You pulled the list of people that were registered in that city with parks. You got the expired mobile home parks. You have all this stuff skip trace. Now you make, a target per day. Like how many people am I going to reach out or owners am I going to reach out per day? I want a relationship with them. I want them to think about me when they're selling. Maybe they're going to sell right now. All right. How does that conversation look? So you call the park owner. All right. Do you want to sell? Maybe. What do you think? Well, how much do you want? Right? Well, we want this. Great. How many spots do you have? How much are you bringing in? I just showed you how to do the math. All right. Cool. Will you hold paper? What does that mean? Would you take payments? Well, maybe. What does that look like? Well, what does it look like to you? I don't know. All right. Well, if you need to propose something, it's like, all right, well, I'm at this number. And why don't you hold paper for me and, try 8% interest, 10% down. How's that sound? Right? Kick some stuff around, play ping pong. This is what's cool about this business. You can also explain how you got to your number because they understand lot rates. Now, I'm going to back up because what I described to you on the 2% rule was more like a cash on cash thing because mobile home parks are actually valued on lot rate only. All right. So say that out of that $800, $600 is lot rent. All right. 600 bucks is lot rent. And they got 20 units. I got my calculator here and they got 20 units. All right. That makes it from 16,000 to 12,000 how it's going to be valued. All right. Times 12 is 144,000 divided by 2. That's 72,000 NOI. Okay. When an appraiser goes to appraise something like this, they're probably going to appraise it at an 8 cap. But that's not what you buy it at. All right. They're going to give you a depreciated value for the mobile homes. All right. So let's say, I don't know, 120,000 bucks they give you for the mobile homes. All right. On top of your valuation. So let's just say 72,000's NOI divided by 8%, and they give you 120,000. That's 900,000. They give you 120,000 for all 20 mobile homes. That's $1 million that they would value it at. All right. Does that make sense? Mobile home parks are only valued on lot rent and they give you a depreciated number for the units that are in place. Now, if they're newer units worth more, you get, a little more value there or a lot more value depending on what they are. So there's different ways to look at this. And what I always like to say is like start with the end in mind. Like, what do you want? Okay, you want a park. What would you like it to make cash flow, net cash flow, right? I want 10,000 a month. Okay, well, this is This is how much income you need to do that. All right. Let's just say you want 10,000 a month and you're 50% expenses. What do you need to make per month? You need a park that's bringing in 20,000 a month, right? And so you got to get good debt on that so that you could you make what you want, which is probably gonna have to be more because you're gonna have debt, right? So probably 30,000 a month, 40,000 a month, right? So I hope this helped, and I wanted to give you kind of an intro into what we'll be doing. We'll be doing live seller calls, like on the calls, doing live underwriting, going over real deals, going over real appraisals, real ways that I've got money for deals. If that's something that you think would help you, it's not going to be cheap, right? Because I'm only letting a few people in, but cheap is relative. Price is relative, right? Because like I bought a part for 750,000 and I got it appraised for 2.2 million, right? Somebody earlier was like, well, if I paid you X amount, then you'd be making X dollars per hour. I'm like, that's not how you look at this. Like, we can also flip the script and say, I bought a park for this and I made $1.5 million. What's that worth? That knowledge worth. I go buy parks today with none of my own money because I understand these principles. I know how to talk to sellers. I know how to underwrite. I know how to structure deals. I know how to bring them to people with a lot of money. I know how to do this stuff. So that makes me valuable. That's what I want to do is make you valuable, right? In this space. And I want you to have a park of your own. If this is something you're interested in, send me a DM on any of my platforms. Facebook would be the easiest. If you like this content, hit like, subscribe, refer it to a friend. It would mean the world. And if you have any other questions, reach out. I would love to make a video on them.